Welcome to the Daily History Podcast, where we bring the pages of the past to life. Today, we journey back to ancient sands to unveil the story of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, her rise, her reign, and her remarkable legacy. Join us as we separate myth from truth in the tale of one of history's most enigmatic leaders. Imagine yourself transported back to the mystical lands of ancient Egypt, a realm of enigmatic symbols and colossal pyramids. The air carries the scent of the Nile, the lifeblood of a civilization that has captivated our imagination for centuries. Here, amidst golden sands and monumental architecture, Cleopatra VII emerges, the living goddess, the final sovereign of an era that reverberates through time. Born into a lineage not of Egyptian, but of Macedonian descent, Cleopatra ascended to the throne in a period filled with turmoil and intrigue. A ruler who personified both allure and authority, she captivated the ancient world, wielding a charisma that commanded the loyalty of her subjects. Her name alone conjures visions of opulence and wisdom, of a queen who navigated her kingdom through the challenges of power and politics. But who was the real Cleopatra? Beyond her famed beauty and Shakespearean tragedies, numerous questions linger, shrouded in the tapestry of history. Was she the seductress, as often portrayed, or was she a politically astute leader, ensnared in the complexities of her time? How did her alliances shape the turbulent landscape of Mediterranean geopolitics? In what ways do the legends differ from the stark realities of her life and rule? As we peel back the layers of legend, let us delve deeper into the life of Cleopatra and unearth the controversies that shadow her enduring legacy. Within the annals of ancient history, Cleopatra VII emerges as a complex figure, a testament to the allure and influence that one individual can exert over the fate of a civilization. Shrouded in both grandeur and controversy, her ascendance is a tale intertwined with familial intrigue and the opulent narratives of the Ptolemaic dynasty. The Ptolemaic dynasty, founded in 305 BCE by Ptolemy I Soter, a companion and historian of Alexander the Great, had ruled Egypt with a blend of Hellenistic and traditional Egyptian practices. It was a lineage marked by a labyrinth of political machinations, with sibling marriages and murders deftly woven into its tapestry. Amidst this fraught backdrop, Cleopatra's story began. Born in 69 BCE, the future pharaoh was the product of this potent mix of Hellenistic culture and Egyptian tradition. Propelled to the throne after the death of her father, Ptolemy XII, in 51 BCE, Cleopatra's journey to power was far from a ceremonial passage. At the tender age of 18, alongside her brother Ptolemy XIII, who was but 10, she embarked on a joint rule fraught with tension and rivalry. Egypt was not the insular kingdom it once was. It now sat precariously in the shadow of the burgeoning Roman Empire, with its political stability directly influencing the Mediterranean balance of power. From the onset of her reign, Cleopatra grappled with a volatile political climate. Her country, the granary of the Mediterranean, was of strategic importance, and she was embroiled in the relentless intrigues of the Egyptian court and the ever-watchful gaze of Rome. The young queen revealed an astuteness well beyond her years, bolstering her rule through administrative reforms and wise governance, aiming to secure Egypt's prosperity and her position upon the throne. Her fluency in multiple languages, a rarity among the Ptolemies, allowed her to communicate directly with her subjects, enhancing her image as a sovereign of the people. As famine and flood brought hardship to Egypt, Cleopatra took measures to stabilize the nation. Economic strategies were implemented to replenish Egypt's coffers and ensure the equitable distribution of grain. These steps were emblematic of her early tenure, an era that strived to quell the internal discord that had long plagued the Ptolemaic court. Her aim was clear: to re-establish Egypt as a majestic kingdom, independent and resilient amidst the swirling tides of foreign ambition and domestic upheaval. While Cleopatra's ascent was marked by these fluctuations, it was her political acumen that steered Egypt through them. Esteemed not just as Egypt's living goddess, but as a shrewd and calculating ruler, her foresight laid the groundwork for a period that would see Egypt's fortunes both rise and fall under her sway. This governance, marked by calculated alliances and reforms, was essential in a time when the line between cunning politics and overt domination was perilously thin. Transitioning from the ethereal sands of Egypt to the cobblestone streets of Rome, our narrative brings the formidable figure of Cleopatra into the sphere of two of the most powerful men of ancient Western civilization, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. The political landscape of Rome was complex, marked by shifting alliances and relentless ambition. Egypt stood as a wealthy and strategic ally. With Cleopatra at its helm, she aimed to preserve her kingdom's autonomy amidst Rome's ever-increasing influence. Cleopatra's story intertwines with Julius Caesar's, initially in 48 BCE, when she famously presents herself to him rolled in a carpet. This dramatic entry was the beginning of their politically charged romance. Caesar, taken aback by her intelligence and charm, becomes an ally, supporting her claim to the Egyptian throne alongside her brother Ptolemy XIII. Their liaison culminates with the birth of a son, Caesarion, in 47 BCE, further solidifying their union. Caesar's influence enabled Cleopatra to reinforce her rule, but her connection to Rome was about to be shaken by the daggers of betrayal. In 44 BCE, the Ides of March marks a turning point in history. Caesar's assassination plunged Rome into chaos. The power vacuum left a stage primed for contest, and Cleopatra had to navigate this turmoil with finesse. The shift of power leads to the rise of another figure, Mark Antony, part of the Second Triumvirate ruling Rome. Displaying her deftness in political maneuvering, Cleopatra secures Mark Antony's support after their meeting in Tarsus in 41 BCE. Their union is both strategic and passionate, eventually bearing 3 children. Together, they dream of creating a new Eastern Empire, with Rome's wealth flowing to Alexandria. However, their joint ambitions were seen as a threat by many in Rome, implying potential for a direct challenge to Roman authority. The tension culminates in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, a defining moment in the narrative of Cleopatra, Mark Antony, and Rome itself. Their defeat by Octavian, Julius Caesar's adopted son, spelled doom for their aspirations. Cleopatra's political acuity could not outmaneuver Rome's military might and internal sentiment. The aftermath is grim, the lover's demise, Antony's in an act of honor, and Cleopatra's through a poetic yet tragic end, marks the fall of Egypt as an independent power. With their passing, Octavian, later known as Augustus, ascends as Rome's first emperor, and the Ptolemaic dynasty fades into the annals of time. In this defining chapter of the power tussles between Rome and Egypt, Cleopatra emerges as a sovereign who could enchant and strategize with equal prowess. Her story is crafted by her ability to forge and lever relationships with 2 of Rome's legendary leaders. As she wove her narrative through Rome's cobbled paths of influence, her impact on the politic of the time endured long after the scribes fell silent. Often, the tale of Cleopatra is shrouded in misconceptions, particularly the idea that her influence stemmed primarily from her beauty. It's imperative to dispel this myth and shed light on the true extent of her intellectual capacities. Cleopatra was an individual of exceptional education and intellect, far from the mere enchantress depicted in popular culture. She was conversant in multiple languages and was the only member of her dynasty to speak Egyptian fluently. Her studies encompassed a range of disciplines, including philosophy, oratory, and the sciences, all of which served her well in governing a nation. Cleopatra's political acumen was as impressive as her scholarly pursuits. She inherited a kingdom in decline, yet through her shrewd decision-making and formidable negotiating skills, she sought to strengthen her position on the global stage. The queen's capability was evident in her negotiations and alliances that displayed a strategic mind, ensuring Egypt remained a key player in the Hellenistic world. She leveraged her relationships, most famously with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, not merely as romantic connections, but as political moves that had long-lasting impact on the Mediterranean geopolitical landscape. Beyond politics and intelligence, Cleopatra also demonstrated a profound dedication to her cultural heritage. At a time when Egypt was under heavy Greek influence, She took measures to resuscitate the nation's rich traditions and integrate them into her rule. Symbolically adopting the role of an Egyptian deity, she seamlessly blended the land's ancestral customs with the ruling Ptolemaic Greek culture. This conscious effort to honor and revitalize her country's legacy speaks volumes about her as a leader who aspired to inspire national pride and unity amidst a complex cultural tapestry. The image of Cleopatra as a wise and cultured sovereign starkly contrasts the oft-touted view that centers around her supposed physical allure. Through examining the depth and breadth of her education, leadership, and advocacy for Egyptian culture, we gain a clearer picture of a ruler who was much more than her legendary romantic entanglements. It is her mind and spirit that profoundly shaped her reign and left an indelible mark on the world. In the waning days of the Ptolemaic dynasty, Cleopatra VII found her grip on power beginning to slip. As the Roman Empire extended its reach, Cleopatra faced the formidable challenge of maintaining her rule over Egypt. Her struggle was not only against external forces, but also a series of internal conflicts, which would eventually lead to the crumbling of her empire. The Battle of Actium in 31 BC marked a critical turning point. On the Ionian Sea, the fleets of Cleopatra and her ally, Mark Antony, clashed with the naval forces of Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus. This epic showdown was more than a mere skirmish. It was a decisive moment that would shape the course of history. Cleopatra and Antony's defeat at Actium reverberated far and wide, crippling their capability to resist Rome's dominance and sealing their fate. In the aftermath, Cleopatra's once glorious Egypt fell into chaos. The loss of her naval power and the defection of her allies painted a bleak picture. The queen and her Roman partner Antony were left to grapple with their dwindling options. With Octavian's forces closing in, the pair was pushed to desperate measures. History tells of the tragic end of these two illustrious figures. Mark Antony, believing Cleopatra to have died and unable to bear the thought of living without her, took his own life. Upon discovering his demise, Cleopatra, whose cunning and resilience had defined her reign, followed suit, choosing death over capture. The means of her suicide, whether by venomous asp or poison, remains shrouded in mystery to this day. Their passing in 30 BC marked the end of an era for Egypt, which then fell under Roman rule, and symbolized the curtain call of the Hellenistic period in the Mediterranean world. Throughout history, Cleopatra's dramatic end has ignited the imagination and painted her demise as a tale of love and dark romance. Yet, it is also a stark reminder of the relentless march of empires and the fate that awaits those who stand in their way. The Queen of Egypt's ultimate downfall is a testament to her undying fight to preserve her kingdom's sovereignty in the face of insurmountable odds, a battle that would echo through the ages. Cleopatra's name resonates through the corridors of history, not just as a ruler of ancient times, but as an emblem in art and literature. She's been depicted in countless forms, from Shakespeare's tragic heroine in Antony and Cleopatra to the silver screen's glamorous portrayals by stars like Elizabeth Taylor. Each interpretation adds layers to her persona, intertwining her real-life exploits with fiction and amplifying her image as an icon of allure and authority. Beyond the canvases and pages, Cleopatra stands tall as a symbol of female power. Her strategic mind and leadership skills carved a niche for her in a predominantly male-dominated world. Cleopatra navigated Egypt's patriarchy, Rome's imperialism, and the politics of her time with astuteness and grace. She held her own against figures like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, not just as a sovereign, but as a woman of formidable intellect and influence. In contemporary dialogues about gender and power, Cleopatra continues to inspire. Discussions on women in history often highlight her achievements and how she managed to cement her status as a ruler despite the constraints of her era. She's a constant reminder of the strength women can exert in shaping their destinies and the course of history. Cleopatra's legacy serves as both a subject of study and a beacon of feminist inspiration, proving that the impact of powerful women echoes long after their time. As we come to the concluding segment of our exploration into the life of Cleopatra, let's revisit the pivotal moments that defined her. Born into the turbulent Ptolemaic dynasty around 69 BC, Cleopatra VII Philopator emerged as a political force, embodying both wisdom and determination. Her legacy is a complex tapestry woven from strands of history and legend. We navigated the nuances of her rise to power, witnessing her endure and manipulate the treacherous political landscape of her time. Cleopatra's alliances and romances with figures like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were not only matters of the heart, but strategic moves in the great game of political survival. However, as we chart the course of Cleopatra's reign, we encounter the confluence of fact and fiction. Her portrayals across the centuries have often been colored by the biases and imaginations of the storytellers. Plutarch, Shakespeare, and Hollywood each painted Cleopatra through their own lenses, making it a challenge to discern the woman from the myth. Cleopatra's downfall, marked by the Battle of Actium in 31 BC and her subsequent passing in 30 BC, signified not only the end of her rule, but also the close of an era for ancient Egypt. As we reflect on her life, we see a narrative punctuated with tales of wisdom, resilience, and a relentless pursuit of sovereignty. Now, as we ponder how the annals of history capture and mold the images of powerful individuals, we consider Cleopatra's portrayal. How has time shaped our understanding of her? And what does her story tell us about the role of women in history and the ways in which their legacies are crafted and recollected? As students of history, we are left with the challenge of separating the real from the embellished, while acknowledging that both contribute to the enduring fascination with figures like Cleopatra. It's a reminder to look beyond the narrative and seek out the truths that lie within. Consider this as you reflect upon Cleopatra's life and legacy, and think about the ways history is written and the stories are told. Thank you for joining us on this historic journey through the life of Cleopatra. If you've enjoyed unraveling the tapestry of the past with us, be sure to subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Leave your comments below, and the suggestion with the most likes will be considered for an upcoming journey into history. Until next time, keep the annals of history alive with your curiosity. Farewell.